Toledo, we're famous for glass, Art Tatum, Tony Pacos, Jamie Farr, a world-class museum, the Toledo Mud Hens and Walleye, an outstanding zoo and public library system. But who are the people that make our city so great? Welcome to the Soul of the Glass City podcast. I'm your host, Monique. I am so happy to be here with my special guest, someone that is near and dear to my heart, Mr. Fletcher, the Fletcher Word. How are you today, sir?
Almost perfect. Thanks for asking.
Why almost perfect? Why not perfect? Because you're on my show.
It's, it's the wintertime. It's cold.
I know. We need to find some sun.
In June, I'm perfect. But
Okay. Well, I'm going to need you to be perfect for my show, okay?
I'll do my best.
Okay.
I'll bundle up.
All right. So because you have such a, non-love of the cold, we know you do love Toledo, though, right? Because that's why.
Very much.
Very much.
Very much, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where are you originally from, though? I want everybody to know because, we know so much, but we know so little about Fletcher.
Okay. I was born in New York City. I grew up in Washington, D.C. I went to college in Boston, so I'm was pretty much an East Coast guy.
Wait. I'm from New York, so
Yeah.
What city were you born in New York?
New York City, Harlem.
Harlem. See that? And I'm a
Yeah.
Brooklyn girl.
Yeah, I was born in Harlem. Yeah, north of 125th.
Nice. So
Yeah,
you probably
I remember it well.
you probably been to the Apollo more than I have.
No, I left when I was maybe 3,
Oh, okay.
well before the.
Okay, I have to make it there, matter of fact. So maybe that's a trip we need to put on the bucket list.
well before the Apollo was in my consciousness.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what brought you to our wonderful city of Toledo?
I ended up in the Midwest by taking a trip after my college days to Michigan, and I stayed in the Midwest. I eventually went into the hotel business and became a hotel manager and that sort of thing. That was my first career, and in that sort of business, I was transferred all over the Midwest, basically. So I've lived in God knows how many places in the Midwest, from North Dakota to Ohio, and came to Ohio about 25, 30 years ago, and to Toledo about 25 years ago. Yeah.
How do you go from, traveling around the Midwest for hotel chains to ending up in Toledo, Ohio, of all places?
Well, I'd always wanted to write, and I started writing. When I was still in the business there, I started writing and eventually started freelancing for various papers and that sort of thing, and eventually settled here in Toledo and started writing for a particular organization here before I founded the paper, the Sojourner's Truth newspaper.
So let's talk about the Sojourner's Truth. I came here about 20 years ago. My oldest is actually 19, so you've known me since she was 1. Mm. So, this is a big thing for me because I originally wanted to be the next Oprah, and then I realized that the camera was not my thing. So here comes Fletcher. I'm doing a fashion show, and talent fashion show, and Fletcher comes and says, "You ever thought about doing journalism?" And I'm like writing? I mean, I write poetry, but I haven't wrote articles or anything before. And he gave me my first opportunity to write for a newspaper. And 20 years later, I have interviewed celebrities. I've done coverage for New York Fashion Week. I've done all these crazy cool things and interviewed very prominent members of the community because of you, sir. How does that make you feel?
I'm glad to hear that. I think with the paper, one of the things that we try to do is not just find out what's happening with various people in the community, but try to suss their stories out through the artistry, through the talents of other people in the community. So we've brought on a lot of people over the years and asked them to contribute to the paper. And, that's part of being a community newspaper is is finding out how people can contribute to the newspaper.
And that is the best part about it. Like, because I got to work at the paper with you, I got to see many community events, many fundraisers, many things that just make Toledo the wonderful place it is. And I feel like you have given all of us that platform, especially in the African American community, to uplift each other and not just hear about like all the crazy bad things that's happening in the world. And that's one of the things I love about the Sojourner's Truth, and I am very grateful and blessed to be a part of it.
Well, that's great, but we also want to talk about all the crazy and bad things that happen too. I mean, news is news.
We get enough of that. No,
It's that's that man bites dog thing. That's news is news.
Yes. I mean, we get a little bit of that in the truth.
The good, the bad, and the ugly. I tell you, the ugly stuff is if you're a community newspaper, if you're a black community newspaper, really you're doing it not just because of the wonderful events that happen in the community, but also the terrible things that happen to the community.
Yes,
so that's also part of it.
That is true. So I wanted to know, why did you feel like we needed the truth in the city of Toledo? Like, there wasn't anything like it before it. If I remember correctly, I know there's the Journal, and I applaud them as well. But what made you want to start the Truth newspaper?
In all honesty, that was not something that I wanted to do. I was happy writing and doing occasional stuff like that. The idea was presented to me that we could use a newspaper, and I thought about it and explored the options and said, what would distinguish us, and looked at it in that way. But really, the idea was presented to me, and I took it and ran with it, feeling after doing some research that there's another voice to be heard. There's another voice to be heard, or other voices to be heard. Not just my voice, but other voices.
That is the amazing thing about what you do. You do care about the thoughts and the opinions of others, and you gave us a platform to hear those thoughts and opinions. And so I wanted to know, well, I'm not sure if many Toledoans know this, but you are an Ivy Leaguer.
I am. I don't know how to comment much on that, but I am an Ivy Leaguer. I went to Harvard. And graduated.
You just said that so casually, like it doesn't matter. Alumnus of Harvard.
Well, I'm used to it after all these years. But.
So how has that shaped your, the way you think, your education, your experiences? How has that shaped who you are today?
I don't know if that in particular, a particular school shapes your influences, but I think that what shapes your influences more than anything else are the people that you meet and run into. And all of my life, I've run into interesting people. I still have dear friends from high school, even, not to mention college and years subsequent to that. So I think that the people are the thing that really impacts you. And if I hadn't gone there would have been other interesting people to impact my life.
Shout out to all those great people that Fletcher has run into, because he is definitely making a great impact on the city of Toledo. So now I want to ask you, what brings you joy? Like, what is the things that, bring out happiness in Fletcher? Because Fletcher can be a very sarcastic guy. So what is the things that bring Fletcher joy?
Well, compliments bring me joy.
Okay.
Not hearing, other people telling me I'm not sarcastic.
On their radio show.
But what brings me joy, I think, more than anything else, are people. I mean, that's what the world is all about. It's about people. And there's some wonderful people here in Toledo, and that more than anything else brings me joy. If there are activities to be had, it's more fun to have them with people,
Well, what are some of your favorite activities? I know Toledo, we have a lot of, recreational things that, I know I love to go to different places in Toledo, but I want to hear, where do you like to go? How do you like to spend your time in our beautiful city?
Well, I think that there, and maybe I'm blessed because having been in the newspaper business, I get to see probably more than a lot of people do. I get to go to all sorts of things, but when I think of Toledo, I think of four major institutions that just the highlight of the city. That is the Toledo Museum of Art, the Toledo Library, the Toledo Zoo, and the Metro Parks. And I think that those four institutions are all world class and continuing to uplift the community and bring more and more and more into the community. They've all been ranked, highly ranked within the United States in their particular disciplines. Or I think if I had nothing else to reflect on, those four things would really make the city stand out in my mind. Okay, they're terrific, but there are other things. There are plenty of neighborhoods that are interesting to me. If we look at the warehouse district, for example, and the things that have gone on there.
Warehouse district.
Yeah,
Wander the warehouse. I gotta give that a shout out.
If we look at Summit Street and what's happening on Summit Street in the near downtown area, some things that ProMedica has done, is continuing to do, some of the development along there. If we take a walk up North Summit Street, and we see some of the things that are happening there, from the Toll House down to the Wonder Bread apartments factory, and down below some of the new things that are being developed down there. I think there's a lot going on in this town.
We are very, very fortunate to have a lot of those things.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing that I think stands out for Toledo is restaurants.
We got to hear this, because you were in the hotel business, so you know how to pick a good restaurant. So tell us.
I used to be in the hotel restaurant business, and I tell you, I'm amazed at some of the great restaurants that are here.
I have to hear this. I want to hear this. Go ahead.
We have a lot of Mediterranean food that is terrific. We look at Greek food, or Greek owners of food places.
Mm-hmm.
The first restaurant I ever went to when I was in town was Giorgio's.
Oh my goodness, Giorgio's is so good.
Yeah, and I was there. I had a friend visiting me from Chicago just after Christmas for a couple of days, and I took him to Giorgio's, and he was just amazed by it. He comes from Chicago, which has a few decent restaurants of its own. But the restaurant scene here is delightful. Delightful. Yeah, all over town.
I must admit.
Yeah.
Because you have so much insight, and I so respect your opinion, what do you see as the future of our great city of Toledo? What is some of your? Because I forgot to mention, he is a political science major. And so how did he go from political science major to owner of Super Paper? Not sure, but I feel like we need to hear his insight on where Toledo's going.
I think Toledo has some great resources in its people, and I look with great pleasure on some of the things that are happening in terms of developing Toledo. However, there are issues, and those issues are that from a income or wealth standpoint, from financial well-being standpoint, Toledo does not rank very heavily, and as a result, very very high on the list within American metropolitan areas, and as a result, we've lost some population. And, if we are going to stem the loss, and if we are going to recover financially, we have to find a way to almost simultaneously keep our educated, the educated people who are leaving for other metropolitan areas, and bring in higher paying jobs for those educated people. You have to have both.
I agree.
And so you've got to bring in those higher paying jobs, and you've got to keep those highly educated folks from leaving. town, and that is going to help with if you can accomplish that, if our leaders, city leaders can accomplish that, if we can attract the businesses, then that's going to help with the financial well-being of the metropolitan area in the coming decades. But that's crucial.
That was so deep. I wasn't ready for all of that, but I do agree. I do agree. And I really appreciate you for sharing your insight and just being my guest today for my first episode of Soul of the Glass City.
It's been a pleasure talking with you, Monique. A great pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I'm your host and producer, Monique. My executive producer is Chris Piper. Join me next time for another exciting episode of Soul of the Glass City podcast. For more information, if you have questions or comments, go to wgte.org/soul.
WGTE. Voices around us.
WGTE is supported in part by the American Rescue Plan Act funds allocated by the City of Toledo and the Lucas County Commissioners and administered by the Arts Commission. For more information about the Voices Around Us podcast project, please visit WGTE.org. You may also listen to all Voices Around Us podcasts at WGTE.org/VAU, the WGTE app, or wherever you get your podcasts online.